A very interesting parsha this week. It's a marvelously strong narrative. Many of you have heard this, but let's talk about it. Parshat Miketz. Yaakov Avinu, Jacob. He sends Joseph's brothers on a mission to procure rations for the family. A family that's facing starvation in Canaan. 10 sons of Jacob, however, could not possibly have anticipated what was to transpire upon their arrival. An intense interrogation by the viceroy of Egypt is followed by 3 days in detention, the incarceration of one of the brothers, Shimon, and a demand to bring Benjamin, their youngest brother, to Egypt. The brothers find no relief from this ordeal, and this unrelenting strain manifests itself both in the way they respond to Joseph's questioning, as well as how they retell the incident to their father Jacob upon their return to Canaan. We, the readers, are given a detailed account of the brothers' visit as it unfolds, with a focus on the verbal exchange with Joseph. And Joseph's manner, if you look at the text, it reflects animosity towards his siblings, as he obviously recalls some very difficult moments in his earlier life. Then when sharing with their father Jacob their account of their experience, the brothers' retelling of what took place in Egypt diverges from what really happened earlier in the chapter. We'll come back to that. The modifications, the additions, and the omissions are all quite revealing of the mindset of the brothers. It would seem, reflecting on what might be seen as an innocent omission, that they failed to truly comprehend the harm they had caused their brother. When Jacob sends the brothers to fulfill the important task of traveling to Egypt to buy food for the family, he does not recognize that once again, as was the case with Joseph years earlier, his sending sons away would result in having one fewer son present in his household. Upon reaching Egypt, the brothers' identity becomes immediately known to Joseph. Look in the text. Chapter 42, verse 7. Vayar Yosef et Echav, vayakirem, vayitnaker alehem, vayedaber itam kashot, vayomer alehem me'ayim batem, vayomru me'eretz Canaan lishbor ochel. Translated, when Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he acted like a stranger towards them and spoke harshly to them. He asked them, "Where do you come from?" And they said, "From the land of Canaan to procure food." The brothers answer the question, "Where do you come from?" tersely, saying, "From the land of Canaan." But then they offer additional information, to buy food. But Joseph ignores this claim. And what does he say? He accuses them of being spies. But before this accusation, the narrator introduces an internal revelation experienced by Joseph. The text says, "Vayizkor Yosef et hachalomot asher chalam lahem." And Joseph remembered the dreams that he had dreamed about them. So what did Joseph exactly recall? It seems that Joseph did more than just remember his dreams. Possibly, he recalled being doted upon as his father's favorite, as a result of which his brothers came to hate him and wouldn't speak a civil word to him. Perhaps he remembered the humiliation he suffered at the hands of his brothers, including when he found them in Dothan and they stripped him of his coat and threw him into a pit in spite of his pleas. He very likely thought about how he was drawn from the pit, sold to traveling nomads, brought to Egypt, and sold to Potiphar, a respected dignitary in Pharaoh's court. And he likely recalled how he became the object of Potiphar's wife's sexual interest, resulting in yet another humiliating scene where he left his clothes in her hands and he ran away to escape her advances. Think about it for a minute. Memories connected to his dreams, and there are two incidents in which he had been left naked. Naked. It is no wonder that his accusation towards his brothers of being spies is accompanied by his claim that they are looking, as the text says, to see the nakedness of the land. Vayomer alehem, he says, meraglim atem lirot et ervat haaretz batem. He said, you're spies. You have come to see the land in its nakedness. And it's clear that Joseph has nakedness in his mind. And this accusation against the brothers reflects the obvious mindset. But when the brothers share this ordeal with their father upon their return to Canaan, they make no mention whatsoever of this segment of Joseph's speech, because the emphasis on nakedness simply meant nothing to them. They didn't relate these words to the fact that they had left their brother naked in a pit, and they certainly were not privy to the attempted seduction by Potiphar's wife, leaving the nakedness portion of Joseph's tirade understandably omitted from their report to Jacob. When recalling an event, we as humans might retell a story with impressive preciseness and exactitude, describing all that occurred exactly as it happened, or quoting spoken words precisely as they were uttered. But more likely, however, we will do our best to recall the details, acknowledging that we may miss a specific or two or three in the telling. Sometimes those omissions are deliberate, perhaps in hopes of avoiding possible discomfort to the listener. At other times, our recollection does not include portions of the event or particular words spoken, simply because they meant nothing to us at the time and subsequently have no conscious presence when we later attempt to produce details to share. This, my friends, is what happened to Joseph's brothers, whom I believe did their best to share their experience with their father honestly and accurately. So how is this relevant to the world that we live in and exist in now, today? When I think about the media and the spin, the Instagrams, the X's, formerly Twitter, the Facebooks, and the conventional media methods and outlets, and how much of what is being reported in the war is the spin of biased journalists, and how much is really the truth. That, my friends, is our ultimate challenge in being a Jew in diaspora today. How brave and courageous must we be? And because of the anti-Israel Western press, how dangerous has that become? Do we have to cower and hide our Jewish identity for fear of physical harm? Or do we stand up, proud, tall, and defend our right to exist and the right of our Israeli brothers and sisters to live without the constant need to run to safe rooms because of rocket attacks under the guise of resistance? when I hear the United Nations, which I believe should be disbanded, good job I'm not a rabbi, demanding a ceasefire in the Gaza war, I hear their putrid attempts to save the barbaric Hamas leadership who decided to do what it did on October the 7th. When people ask me, who are not knowledgeable about a ceasefire and Israel's moral ground, I reply, what was wrong with the ceasefire on October the 6th? What was wrong with that ceasefire? And nobody can really provide a suitable answer to that direct question. And I've stopped watching certain Western media outlets because their reporting of the war is atrociously biased. Their spin is only about Gaza civilians. And that has massively contributed to the pro-terrorist and anti-Semitic demonstrations that are sanctioned by our leadership and their like here in this city. Here at Beth Torah, we look for peaceful coexistence with our non-Jewish friends. But as Rabbi Sachs has mentioned more than once, we are the only religion who has to keep our doors locked for fear of attack by the woke advocates, the glorifiers of terrorism, who don't want peace, and as their slogans clearly state, would have us annihilated as a people. I close by encouraging each and every one of us, chazak, chazak, be strong at this time. Take courage from the fact that we have a military fist in the IDF, who is slowly but surely doing what it needs to do. And remember one thing, I've known this all my life. The louder the screams for a ceasefire, the better we are doing in the military conflict. Am Yisrael Chai.